Right, hello from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. It's early in the morning here, but we got up and we watched Tipperary against Limerick, 2:23 apiece. What a game in Semple Stadium. I said I'd just come on and give a quick reaction just a few minutes after the full-time whistle here. And yeah, geez, first of all, what a game. I was up at before 6 in the morning to watch the first game between Cork and Clare, and that was class game as well. 12-point comeback for Clare, but in Thurles Semple Stadium, Tipp against Limerick. There was fears coming in for Tipp after the league final. Did that take the wind out of Tipp's sails after good enough progress in the league? But geez, the lads didn't look kind of tired or. I suppose the thing I was worried about was would the confidence be there, and it definitely was. And the work rate straight from the start. The minute the ball was thrown in, the Tipp backs were wrestling with the Limerick forwards straight away. And that probably showed Tipp's intent that they were really up for this, and they very much were. Usually I have notes from commentating on the game and I'm going down through player by player giving my opinion on their performances, but I no notes with me here now, so whatever comes off the top of my head in the next 10 minutes or so for this kind of review is just going to come off the top of my head. So yeah, as I said, I wasn't at the game. Obviously I'm here in Las Vegas. You can see it behind me. We're on a trip for the last week in LA, and we're in Las Vegas now for WrestleMania, so we had a good crack at that last night, and that'll be night two later on tonight. But got up early, watched the matches on GA Plus. I'll give my couple of thoughts about that. I thought their overall coverage was really, really good. Some really good additions, like the graphic coming up on the screen with the pictures of a player when they score and things like that was really good. The only gripe I have is I think it took about 10 minutes before we actually saw a puck out. So a score would go over, they'd show the replay, and then when the ball would go back in play, or when the ball would go back to live action, the ball is down the field. When the camera will go back to live action, the ball is down the field. So you don't see the puck out. You didn't know, did they go short, did they hit it long? I think they kind of got to grips with that later on. That's only a small gripe. I thought the coverage in general was really, really good. But the game itself, 2:23 apiece. Tipp finished the first half really strong. Was it 16 points to 16 points to 110, I think, at halftime. Obviously Adam English got the goal for Limerick. It was an unlucky one for Tipp because the ball went into the full forward line. Was it Michael Breen got a good block on one? It was a Shane O'Brien going for a point just around the 21, and it was blocked and went straight to Adam English, and it was kind of a foot race between him and Barry Hogan. I thought Barry maybe kind of half hesitated. I'd have to watch it back. This is literally just kind of first viewing. But Adam English, in fairness to him, just so casually just stroked it under Barry Hogan, who was coming out, and threw his legs into the back of the net. So that was an unfortunate one. Barry had a similar one a few minutes before that when he kind of came sliding out, and that made a key kind of block there. But the first half I thought Tipp did really well. What jumped off the screen was just the work rate, and if you were at the match yourself, it was probably even more noticeable. But very noticeable watching it was that middle third. Tipp throwing their bodies about. Everyone was going all out. I'll go through the performances individually in a sec, because I thought there were some really good performances for Tipp. Also, if I do upload this on Spotify, the audio is going to be a little bit different. I don't have my microphones or that with me, so it's literally just my phone camera set up here. So the audio mightn't be as good as Liverpool have just scored on the screen beside me. But yeah, the work rate in that middle third was so noticeable from Tipperary and all throughout. And as I said, I'll go through the individual performances. But second half, then I was worried at halftime, because how many times have Tipp been in the lead against this Limerick team in the last couple of years at halftime, only to get kind of blown out of it in the second half. But that wasn't the case in the second half, although it kind of looked like that for a second. Early in the second half, I think after about 15 seconds, was a Keane Lynch threw over a quick point. And Keane Lynch was incredible throughout. He's one of them hurlers who could hurl in a phone booth, like he could hurl inside in the shower. It's so good in these tight spaces. I'd say 5 or 6 times watching that game, I was like, how do you get that ball into his hand? On the ground, load of lads around him, somehow it's in his hand. He's just unreal to watch that way. But he got that point quickly, and then Shane O'Brien, lovely ball into the full forward line. Shane O'Brien gets it on the turn around Mikey Breen and down the end line, and just rifles it into the top of net. Nothing Barry Hogan could do, and Michael Breen almost had a hook there. and I thought he was really good throughout. So that was, you're kind of thinking, oh no, here we go again. And Limerick maybe pushed out to a two, maybe 3 point lead. I don't think it ever went to four in that second half. But Tipp just stayed at it, battling away, and John McGrath's 2 goals. The first one was Craig Morgan ran through and popped the hand pass, and John on his right, shimmy on his left, fired it past Nicky Quaid. Just brilliant finish. So much composure. And it was Craig Morgan again who had a brilliant game, running through and popped the hand pass. And the second goal was just a worldie of a goal. I think it was Brian O'Mara who started the move, played it to Jake Morris. Jake pops a hand pass, maybe to, was it Conor Bowe? And then Conor Bowe back to Brian O'Mara, who continued his run, puts it on his hurley up to around the 21, and hand passes to John McGrath, rifles it into the top corner. Brilliant finish again. But Brian O'Mara, the run he made, and what you could go unnoticed was the hand pass off the hurley was perfect for John McGrath. He didn't have to break stride, and because it was so perfect, it meant that none of the Limerick players could get a hook or get into John McGrath. And he had that time to look, settle himself and leather it, because if that hand pass was a little bit behind John McGrath, need to reach back or stop, the chance was gone. Or if it was too far in front of him, he's kind of reaching for it and the chance could be gone. But it was perfect, and drilled it into the back of the net. And then as we were watching it, you're kind of starting to believe, like, geez, Tipp can push on here and win this game. But in fairness to Limerick, they pushed on, got a few scores, and they went into a 1-point lead. And Tipp, we left a few scores behind. There was that one where it broke to Alan Tynan, and it could have been a goal chance if I'd have to watch it back. But I thought there was there on his left-hand side, was it Jake running off him? But he cut in and it was like, right, he's just going to take the point, and he hit it wide from about 25 yards out. So that was really kind of disappointing late on. And Darren McCarthy missed 1 or 2 frees in that second half. But in fairness to him, and I heard his interview on GA Plus after, he stepped up for that free to level the game. And in fairness, it wasn't that the free given for the William O'Donoghue throw. I thought there was a few throws that were probably not given on both sides. I'd have to look back, even for that Tipp second goal, maybe some of them weren't full hand passes. I'd have to look back. But I remember one where Keane Lynch, it would have been the camera like looking down, so it would have been the old stand side. He threw it up to hand pass it, but then it wasn't a strike in action, if you get me. He kind of threw it up and then kind of caught the ball and wrapped it back this way. Didn't look like a strike in action, but look, this is one instance in a game of 70 minutes. But it was William O'Donoghue who had a kind of a one like that was called against him. That was a free in for Tipperary on the 45. A really wet day it looked there in Thurles. So obviously difficult conditions for Darren McCarthy, who'd missed 1 or 2 frees, but was really good throughout. Like, he started with 2 points straight away, just looked so comfortable. First Munster Championship game, 19 years of age, and he was awarded man of the match. But he stood up for that free, and he mentioned in the interview after with GA Plus that Seamus Kennedy and Noel McGrath came up to him just to relax, take your time over the free, go through your normal routine. And he mentioned how that was kind of very important to him at the time. So nailed it over the bar, and that was the level and score. So there was a few hairy moments from the puck out then from Nicky Quaid, where it was kind of been battled for on the Tipperary full back line out near the sideline, where you're worrying, don't give away a free, don't let Limerick get the ball. But thankfully Thomas Walsh blew it up. And I thought Thomas Walsh, mentioning him as well, the Waterford referee, I thought he done really well as well. It was really like, there was a few frees that were given away where you're like, oh, what's that for? And they showed a replay and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. So he had a really good game, did the referee. So yeah, that was the game, like really back and forth. Tipp really stood up to Limerick, and I saw Shane Brophy tweeting that it was definitely Tipp's best performance under Liam Cahill, and you'd probably have to agree. So the ones you look to were maybe 2023, the draw against Limerick, the draw against Cork that day, the win against Clare. But you just felt like today's performance was real battle, work rate, lads making their debut, not looking out of place. So delighted with this. And I remember my podcast after the league final, I said that if Tipp could get anything from the first 2 games, it would be really good. So I'm sitting here just delighted to get a point against Limerick. It's going to be tough going down to Páirc Uí Chaoimh again next Sunday, which I will be back for that. That's going to be tough, but then you have a week off, and then you can prepare for that Clare game in Ennis and that Waterford game. So a point, it's crucial that Tipp come away from today with something, and that's going to give the whole group a lot of confidence and a lot of belief. And there seemed to be a great vibe down around Thurles after the game. So brilliant for Tipperary. I'm delighted anyway. We've a great day ahead of us here now in Vegas after that. So, but as they said after, it's the first round. It's only a draw. A lot of hurling left to go, as we all know. But what a start to the Munster Championship! Like that Clare Cork game, I was watching it 6 o'clock in the morning here on the phone, and at half time I was thinking, God, this is one way traffic, like, and Clare being blown out of it here. And in fairness to them, they came back the whole way, and they were in the lead in injury time then, and it was a free at the end that was put over to level it. Cork kind of just, they came out of the block so good in that second half, or in that first half, but then kind of the second half, probably to Clare's credit, and that red card, I think I tweeted that there's a few lads going down very easily in Ennis, but I'm not going to get into that now. Just, I don't know, that annoys me. But anyway, there was none of that in Thurles, thankfully, that I saw anyway. And that's not a dig on anyone or any county in particular, but that's just what I saw when I was watching. But back to Thurles and to the Munster Championship in general. What a start! All 4 teams who played this weekend on a point, and Waterford coming into it next weekend now, looking to get their championship up and running. So it's really well set up. We're none the wiser about who's going through in Munster this year after today. But we'll go down through the performances now for Tipperary. Again, I've no notes in front of me, so I won't know scores or anything like that. But Barry Hogan, we mentioned the goal, the second one he couldn't do anything about. The first one of those ones where you're just trying to put your body in the way and hope it hits. It was unfortunate that it went through his legs, but it was credit to Adam English there as well. I thought some of his puck outs in the second half now, granted, I'm here lying in bed watching it on a phone. I'm not in Semple Stadium where the rain looked pretty bad. It looked windy. Some of the puck outs, were held up in the sky, it looked like, and maybe down on top of Colin Coughlin and William O'Donoghue on one or two occasions where I suppose it's probably a day where it's going to be incredibly hard to drill a puck out into between the 265, something that Barry is really good with. So it was probably a difficult day for puck outs, but as I mentioned, he made that kind of key kind of block in that first half. The full back line, I'll mention them all in once. I thought Robert Doyle, he got yellow carded, and I was thinking this could be a bit dodgy now. It was yellow carded for some off the ball kind of thing. They didn't show it, and you were a little bit worried about what would kind of happen as the game wore out. But in fairness to him, didn't look out of place at all. I thought full back Owen Connolly, the frees in the first half, 4 of them, just so accurate and like sailed over the bar. And like every one of them were so important. And himself, and I believe they said, was it Ronan Maher in that second half, were hounding the referee and umpires that was it an Adam English shot had went wide, and it was originally waved a point, but then it went to Hawkeye, and because they were hounding the referee saying that it was wide, went to Hawkeye. In fairness to Thomas Walsh, she said, yeah, let's have a look, and it was wide. So that was another thing for was it Owen Connolly and maybe Michael Breen who done that as well. And just on Michael Breen, again, really solid performance from him. For the goal with Shane O'Brien, I think the credit has to go to Shane O'Brien for that rather than anything Michael Breen done. He got it for a big lad. He turned so quick and accelerated off and buried it. So Michael Breen really, really good, as he has been all season so far. And just on Hawkeye, now that I have it in my head, there was definitely a point in that first half, was this Barry Hogan knocked it down and played on, and then it went to Hawkeye. And Hawkeye showed us as a point that it, but I don't know, does Hawkeye let you know that it's gone, it lets you know that it's gone between the posts, but does it let you know if it's gone like over the crossbar? If you're looking at it here and this is the post, does it let you know that it's crossed the crossbar? Because I remember last year up in Croke Park, Tipper in the Camogie League final against Galway, and Karen Kendi from Thurles hit a shot early on, and the goalie knocked it down, and it was definitely in front of the crossbar. Like, it wasn't like her hurley was back above the crossbar. It was definitely in front, knocked it down to herself, played on, and then it came up, it went to Hawkeye, and it was given as a point. And I remember thinking, Jesus God, I'm not sure about that. And there's been a few of those occasions, and today was another one where Barry Hogan, it didn't look like he was leaning back or anything like that. I don't know. I mentioned it at halftime. I just tweeted it that, like, are we sure that that's definitely a capability of the Hawkeye technology? But look, it's gone now. But definitely something that I think the GA might have to address just going forward. Because if that wasn't the point, Tipp could have won the game. But look, that's just how it is. But we'll move on to the half back line. Joe Caesar went off, I think, injured in that game. Again, no notes here, but for him, Robert Doyle, Sam O'Farrell, Darren McCarthy, that was Munster Championship debuts. So Joe Caesar, again, it's really hard watching on the phone because you can only see what you're shown. But I didn't think he did anything wrong, so that's all I can say. I couldn't see much of him, and he was in that middle third, kind of where a lot of players are blended up. Ronan Maher got caught out of possession a couple of times, but I thought when he was really solid as he is back there, particularly in that second half where there was a few hairy moments where a ball could break to a Limerick man and he was there to sweep it up and mop it up and give good out ball. Brian O'Mara, I thought, just trying to think, that might be Brian O'Mara's best performance in a Tipperary jersey. I thought he was really, really good. I mentioned his run for the goal. Remember his run in the first half where he just stayed going. Diarmaid Burns went to pull on the ball on the ground, missed it. Brian O'Mara just stayed going and put it over the bar. His flicks and hooks and blocks are something I mention on every podcast. He got a few of them today as well. I could only think of one mistake. I think he was on his own and hit kind of a loose ball maybe down on Colin Coughlin at one stage, but Brian O'Mara was exceptional today, and he was really, really good. So midfield, and he set up that goal as I mentioned. Midfield for Tipp, we had Darius Stakelum and we had Craig Morgan. I thought they both did really well. Craig Morgan has just been continuing this brilliant vein of form and just really showing his ability this year. I thought maybe outside of the county you probably would have been looking at him as just a corner back, because that's where he'd been playing with Tipp. But Craig Morgan is a ball player. He's a good runner. He's a brilliant hurler. And we're starting to see that, and he's got brilliant work rate, and there's a bit of grit and toughness to him as well. So Craig Morgan really good in the middle of the field. Darius Stakelum, I thought has been really good. Not to just repeat the phrase really good for every player, but he's so tidy. He's a real tidy hurler, and he has a bit of hardiness to him, because sometimes when you see these young tidy hurlers coming through, you're going to think, how can they hang in the Munster Championship in the thick of it? But that game he came on against Clare and changed the game. That was a different side of Darius Stakelum I saw in the league, where he was throwing himself into tackles, winning the ball back off people, and I didn't know that he had that as well. And I think that opened the eyes to a lot of people that he's not just kind of a sharpshooter young lad, that he can really do something. And starting midfield, you're not going to come across more harder midfielders to go up against as Keane Lynch and William O'Donoghue. And I thought the Tipp midfield duo done really, really well. So Darius Stakelum, just delighted with how he's kind of come on this year, and he's shown huge improvements. Alan Tynan, we mentioned that miss he had, but Alan Tynan was throwing himself around the place in that game. Got a good score in the second half at the start, but he'll be disappointed with that wide at the end. He'd done the hard work, but he was really good, getting on a couple of breaks and things like that. Centre forward for Tipp was Jake. Off the top of my head, I'd say he scored 5 points from play. Maybe 6. Really, I was going to say really good again. Just his acceleration, and he's shown great leadership at the minute, Jake. And bringing other lads into play, and his direct running is such an asset for Tipp. And his work rate this year has been, top notch. So Jake Morris with a good performance there. Who did we have at number 12? Again, I've no notes in front of me. Number 12 was Sam O'Farrell, who made his debut. I thought he wasn't on as much ball as he usually was, but again, you could, if you're watching this, you could have been there. Maybe you got a lot of hooks and blocks in that middle third that I didn't see, because again, we're just showing what we're showing on the cameras. But his Munster Championship debut didn't do an awful lot wrong. He made one pass in the second half where he was on his own 45, and the ball I thought was on to Ronan in the centre back position, but instead he took it back around and back on the sideline, and then played it with his right over the top of like 3 Limerick lads, straight into the hand of Ronan Maher. It was an incredible pass, but it was kind of like when he hit it. But in fairness to him, he done really well with the under-20s as well the other day as well. That was a great win. So Munster Championship debut for Sam O'Farrell. Full forward line, Darren McCarthy, man of the match. What a performance. The points from play, the movement. He showed once or twice his acceleration that he does have. Got some great scores. We'll be disappointed with 1 or 2 missed frees, because that's not something we see from Darren McCarthy. But you're talking about a 19-year-old Munster Championship debut, and he's given a ball on a wet, dirty day against the wind. given a ball after missing a few frees, and he's given a ball to level the game against a Limerick team going for 7 Munster championships in a row. And it just shows the kind of character of the lad that he's able to stand over it and knock it over the bar. And he had to wait. I thought there was maybe a bit of gamesmanship going on by the Limerick lads when that free was given. Just how long he had to wait before he could get it taken. And in fairness to him, knocked it over. John McGrath, like that's John McGrath that we see year in, year out with Lockmore. We saw it with Tipperary for years, but I think that's the best John McGrath we've seen post the injury he had in a Tipp jersey. He was so... his finishing ability is that what you need in that full forward line, but his work rate as well. A few times we've seen hooks and blocks way out the field from John McGrath, and he just has it. He has it in here like Noel does, and that it was just great to see John McGrath back in that kind of form. And Jason Ford, I thought we didn't get the ball into Jason Ford much at all. He wasn't really in the game from my eye, from what I saw. And anytime he did get the ball, I thought he definitely got 1 point as far as I remember. He's always a threat that way, but just didn't really get on much ball from what I saw. So that was the starting 15. The subs that came on, Seamus Kennedy got that point when he came on. Noel McGrath was incredible, I thought, when he came on. His vision, that's the word I think when I think Noel McGrath, vision, and his calmness on the ball. And like Keane Lynch, he was coming away with some ball in that middle third where it's just hectic, you don't have time, where it just slows down in Noel McGrath's head, where he's able to get it into his hands, and instead of like turning, trying to drive past his man, he might do it for a second, and he knows that, right, I'm going to turn, take on my man, but there's going to be a free man here, turn back, give it to him. There was that pass he played to Seamus Kennedy for that score, and he got that scandalous score out the sideline, actually, now that I remember. Noel McGrath out in like the 14 on the sideline. So I say fair play to Liam Cahill, because I think he's managed this really well. Noel McGrath probably can't go 70 minutes in that middle. I don't know if anyone can go 70 minutes in that middle third in the Munster Championship against Limerick because of how hectic it is. But Noel McGrath, with whatever age he is now, it surely can. So the best way to maybe utilise him is bring him on late on when you need, not even late on, but in that second half where you need his calmness and his vision, and when the game maybe slows down a small bit in terms of players getting tired and things like that. He was exceptional when he came on. Nothing short of what we'd expect from Noel McGrath at this stage, but he was so good. Connor Staplem came on, good to see him back as well. Didn't see him on much ball, he came on quite late. Shawnee Kennelly likewise as well. But yeah, am I forgetting anyone? I probably am. Was there anyone else that came on? If there was, I don't have any notes in front of me. So that's how the game went. What a start to the Munster Championship. Just really delighted that Tipp got a point. Remember I said if we get anything out of those first two games, I'd be happy. So we've got a point from the first game, so that's a good start, but it's a long Munster Championship ahead. So I think we'll leave it at that. I don't know how long I've been talking here, but I'm going to enjoy my last few days here in Las Vegas. Going to enjoy WrestleMania tonight, and then we will be back next weekend. I'll be back to normal on commentary duty down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh for that game against Cork. So until then, give us a like, subscribe, share it on Twitter, all that stuff, and thanks for watching.